Okay, how's the sound? Can I have a one please, if you can hear me? How's the sound? Sounds good. Okay. Actually, I believe Falcon made a very good argument. I'm against Trinity. I don't believe Jesus is divine. I only believe that he is a prophet. And I think that was a good argument, since Jesus as the Son is meant to be divine with the Father. I mean, why is he claiming that the Son doesn't know the last day? So that doesn't make sense. And I think the seventh was making a bit of a mockery out of Mormonism, saying that, oh, they believe God has grandfathers, etc. But don't Christians believe that anyway? Don't they have a similar concept to say that Jesus as the Son God has a God called the Father? So that's a little bit strange. But anyway, I've got two verses for seventh beggar to answer. And, good luck in answering these verses, because these two verses will actually prove that Jesus isn't the Father. Okay? Now, remember what Seventh Day said? He said God is everywhere. He said basically God is everywhere. So since God is everywhere, is God in Satan as well? Does God dwell inside idols of Hindu goddesses? Is God in the bathroom or in the toilet? I mean, when you claim God is everywhere, what do you mean? I mean, I'm sure God isn't in a whorehouse. I don't mean to offend anyone. So basically, there are some places as humans we don't like to enter, but how can we claim that God is everywhere? So I totally disagree with that. I think God is not everywhere, but everywhere with his knowledge, not physically. Oh, I don't like to use the word physically, but you know what I mean. Okay, so basically here are my two verses, and I'll get off the mic. Jesus said in Matthew 23:9, "Do not call anyone on earth your father." I'll post two verses and I'll get off mic, and I want him to respond. Okay, here. Two verses. "Do not call anyone on earth your father, for one is your Father who is in heaven." So basically, if Jesus was the Father on earth, why is he claiming to his companions, don't call anyone on earth your Father, but the Father is only in heaven? So you can clearly see the distinction that Jesus makes between him and the Father. And if the Father was dwelling inside Jesus, Jesus would have said, "Do not call anyone on earth your Father besides me, who is Jesus on earth, and the Father in heaven." So this is the biggest contradictory to claim that Jesus is the Father. Matthew 23:9 clearly disproves the Trinity. And here's the last verse. Here's the last one. Now, the Bible actually teaches there's two gods. I don't know where the third God went, but it really does teach two gods. Now, let me show you why. This is interesting. John 5:22 says, "Moreover, the Father judges no one, but has entrusted all judgment to the Son." Notice how the Father is entrusting judgment, or all judgment, towards the Son. Okay, so here we see the Father giving the judgment to Jesus as the Son, but the Father judges no one. So we have two gods, one God that judges and the second God that judges no one. He basically sits there like a spectator and watches the end result. So if Jesus was Trinity as the Son with the Father, then they should both be judging, but they're not both judging. If Jesus judges, then the Father should be judging. So this doesn't make sense, that one judges and the other one doesn't judge. So two verses to disprove Trinity. And thank you for letting me come on the mic, and I hope to see a response to those particular verses, the two verses I brought up. Thank you.
Well, Army, I could quote a whole lot more in relation to Jesus as a man. In fact, I'd like to go to the proof that he was a man in relationship to the fact that he died and he said, into thy hands I commit my spirit. Yes, of course, he was a man. He must have had a dual nature, because just previous to his death, he said, destroy this temple, in 3 days I will raise it up again. And of course,
that whatever the issue is that where they're critiquing, say, Islam on, right? They're saying, well, Islam is wrong because of fill in the blank. That the intelligent Muslim who is knowledgeable about Christianity, what will he do? He will, if he knows of a similar instance within Christianity, will then turn it back on the Christian debater and say, what? Well, hey, you have the very same thing in Christianity, so why are you debating me about this particular issue when you yourself have this issue? I'm sure you've seen that debate tactic, right? It's not unfamiliar to you, hopefully. It sounds like you've been on Talk long enough that you may have seen this. It's a reasonable sort of thing. So here's the issue. Falcon Flyer is a member of the Mormon Church. I don't know how much you know about Mormonism. I don't know where you live. Army, where do you live? Army, where do you live? Just out of curiosity. In the U.S., Europe, where? Just approximately. Australia. All right, so you may have run into Mormons, Mormon missionaries and stuff. The Mormons have a couple temples down in Australia. So if you haven't, you should, right? So there you go. So Mormons have a couple temples. I think they have one in Sydney, and I don't know if they have one in Melbourne. I don't know. But I know they have one in Sydney. Anyway, so here's what Mormons believe. And one, yeah. So I don't know whether you know or not, Mormons do believe Jesus is God. Did you realize that? They do believe that Jesus is divine. He's not merely a human being. So already, as a Muslim, you reject Mormon doctrine because you don't believe Jesus is divine. Secondly, they believe in multiple gods. Do you believe in multiple gods? Of course you don't. You believe in Tawheed, that God is one, absolutely one, nothing else. Mormons believe, of course, that God the Father has a Father, who has a Father, who has a Father. So there's thousands and billions of gods out there, and that we, on planet Earth, are only to worship one God, the Father of Jesus, right? So, Falcon Flyer came to the mic, and he was chuckling about Trinitarianism. He said, hey folks, I don't mean to be offensive at all. But, and then he started chuckling about the Trinity. So, and why? Because from his Mormon point of view, Trinitarianism is absurd. I hear you, I get that. It's the laughing at it that I find ironic. Because I am sure you as a Muslim, if somebody came to you, let's say a Mormon missionary came to your door today, right? No, I don't have a problem with chuckling at it. I'm just pointing out, Abby, that he can't take his own medicine. That's the point, Abby. That's the only point. So, Army, if a Mormon missionary came to your door today and said, hi, Mr. Muslim, have you ever heard, we're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and we'd like to share with you the gospel of Jesus Christ. And then they say, what? They say, yes, Mr. Muslim, actually, God the Father used to be a human being on planet Earth. God the Father was married on that planet and had kids. He had a mortgage. He bought a house, he had a job, etc. What would your reaction be to that as a Muslim? You'd probably be horrified, correct? You would be horrified. Because as a Muslim who believes in the absolute unity and oneness of God, to hear an individual talk about multiple gods,